Recently, the Supreme Court gave a kind of interim judgment because the three eminent citizens who approached the Supreme Court could only do so under Article 32. The scope of Article 32 is very limited. Supreme Court did not choose to go in for wider inquiry. Therefore, the judgment was limited. Judgment is substantially based on the statements made by the government. And the government misled the Supreme Court. Before we pointed out, the government also rushed to Supreme Court by way of apology. Instead of agreeing that they made a misrepresentation, they stated that there was some grammatical error, typographical error, I don't know whatever you want to call it. When they submitted statements for the Supreme Court. I wish to point out in the meanwhile, the government, Congress party never went to Supreme Court. Please note. So our Congress party is not in the Supreme Court for the simple reason our well-considered stand from the beginning has been that JPC inquiry is the only way out. For that reason, we did not go to Supreme Court. Anyway, Supreme Court took partial notice and asked the government to state some facts. Its judgment is based on misunderstanding. The first thing is the CAG report is generally prepared, submitted to the government, and the same is laid on the table in the House. After that, it's taken up by the Public Accounts Committee. This is a procedure. Even before Supreme Court judgment, we cried foul because the CAG was not submitting the report. Mr. Modi has destroyed all institutions. Democracy does not depend only on periodic holding of elections. It depends on the culture, the autonomy of institutions, and respect for conventions. Mr. Modi's government has interfered with CBI Election Commission. Now it has interfered with the CAG. It is twisting CAG in such a manner as not to produce the report. But they somehow managed to give an impression to the Supreme Court. The CAG had already prepared a report. The same had been looked into by PAC. It was this misunderstanding. It was this wrong impression given deliberately, mischievously to the government, which has been misunderstood by the Supreme Court. Consequently, based judgment on that. Therefore, we are saying that government should agree to JPC. Why do we prefer JPC? There is no understanding in JPC. Mr. Arun Shauris makes it a point to tell us that in the JPC, members of parliament of all sides are there. They can never agree. While that may be so, the basic feature of parliamentary committee is it can pursue the truth to the logical limit. No other institution can pursue the truth so much as JPC. It can call every officer before it. It can call IAF chief, Joint Secretary of Department, and the Prime Minister before it, and the Defence Minister. Mr. Arun Jaitley is not afraid of conclusions. He is afraid of facts. He wants to hide in darkness. He wants to avoid the dazzling light of truth. The truth is, Mr. Modi had favored Anil Ambani's company blatantly, brazenly. There is no controversy on the quality of Rafale aircraft. None of us made an issue of the quality of Rafale. The real thing is about the price, about the procedure, and the choice of offset partner. And the fourth is technology transfer. In the case of Jaguar aircraft, Mirage, and other aircrafts, technology transfer was insisted upon and taken by Government of India, and HAL has been absorbing the technology for the last 40 years. Nothing happened to it until 14th April 2015. Mr. Modi goes to Paris, signs a deal with his counterpart, namely the then President of France, Francois Hollande. The deal is purchase of only 36 aircraft as against 126 we contemplated. If the Air Force requirements are urgent, how can 36 do the job of 126? Earlier, we were to buy 18 aircraft. And remaining aircraft were to be assembled in HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. The technology of transfer was to absorb. All this was agreed to by the defense company, Dassault company. In French they say Dassault. That doesn't matter. Why did he agree to lesser number? What is the alternative plan for meeting our defense requirements? Just 2-3 days before he entered into a deal, our Foreign Secretary, Mr. Jaishankar, the then Foreign Secretary was Mr. Jaishankar. He said in Paris, aircraft agreement will not be entered into the Prime Minister. Such things need detail. The Foreign Secretary said also that HAL would be the offset partner. How did things change in just 2 days? He has not been able to answer. And then on 14th April 2015, when PM signed the deal, it was an illegitimate deal. It was an illegal deal. You may ask me how. All defense deals are entered into only after the deal is considered by the government according to a set procedure. There is something called defense procurement procedure. The air chiefs must agree, finance ministry must agree, law ministry must agree. All this has been dispensed with. No technical committee made a statement before that 36 aircraft would do instead of 156. I said in Delhi, and I think it bears repetition, Mr. Modi took a decision like a medieval monarch. See, Louis XIV, French sovereign, said in France, though in the 18th century, I am the state. Mr. Modi also seemed to say, I am the state. CAG doesn't matter. If his own department doesn't matter. He did it like a Shahnshah. After that, this procedure had to be agreed to. Sorry, this deal had to be agreed to through laid down procedure. At every stage there was a problem. Since I am in Goa, I must talk about the role of Mr. Manohar Parrikar. Mr. Manohar Parrikar was not taken to Paris. How could such a gigantic deal involving a foreign exchange outgo of rupees 60,000 crore be agreed to without the defense minister? I was Minister of Petroleum. Could my Prime Minister go and agree to a deal outside without me or involvement of my department? Prime Minister, as I emphasized before, is not a sovereign. In Indian context, sovereignty rests with the Constitution or the people of India. Everybody is subject to procedure. Manohar Parrikar, as I said last night in the public meeting, was not there. He was not taken. He was not taken to confidence. And Mr. Modi signed the deal. Next day, Mr. Manohar Parrikar says, I saw the press record. He said, now that the Prime Minister agreed, I back up. Exact wording, I back up. I was a minister for 3 times in the cabinet. If I did something, Prime Minister backs up. How does the Prime Minister do to get backed up by his minister? Since then, Manohar Parrikar and Narendra Modi have been handling this affair in a collusive manner. We don't know how much each person has compromised. At every stage, to be fair to our departments, they insisted upon sovereign guarantee. Sovereign government guarantee means guarantee by the government. The Prime Minister says, look, I have entered into Government to government agreement, what did I do? Where is the question of the company? What does your government to government deal mean? It means nothing. Even after the deal was signed, our departments have been saying that we need sovereign guarantee, or at least we need bank guarantee. This agreement has not been backed by the sovereign guarantee, that is the government's guarantee, or the bank guarantee. What the government of France says, we can only provide a letter of comfort which they gave. Letter of comfort means nothing. It has no legal implications. See, Dassault company CEO says, we chose Reliance, Anil Ambani's company, because it had land in Nagpur. But on 14th April 2015, Anil Ambani did not have land in Nagpur. He later on acquired land in Nagpur. So, the Dassault company has been telling lies. A private company is not sworn to truth. It is doing business. Let the statements of the Dassault company be confirmed or attested to by the French government. French government does not agree to anything. Today's French President, Mr. Macron, when asked to comment on the former President's statement, he said, I was not there on that day. He didn't contradict. Often there is an impression the present president has contradicted the former French president's statement. It's not true. It's just not true. Are we to believe the words of CEO of the private company as against the words of the former French president? If there is no truth in the statement of former French president, the present president must contradict. He has chosen not to comment, which by implication means he spoke the God's gospel truth. Now, as far as the court is concerned, it's for the Supreme Court to decide what it should do. We are not in the court. The judgment of the Supreme Court, such as it is, limited in its scope, cannot be taken at its face value because it is to be revisited. At any rate, we don't ask the Supreme Court for its opinion. We are not in the Supreme Court. We are in a democracy. First of all, the democratic process must be exhausted, and we insist upon GPC. Any questions you are free to ask. Either on record or off the record. First on record, after the press.